Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Auburn Energy Committee meeting up on Monday, June 26th, and it is now called to order at approximately 5:32 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and broadcasted by Local Access Programming. Is there anyone here in the audience tonight that's recording tonight's meeting? There being none, let's move to our first agenda item, which is the wind turbine feasibility study. Matt, I believe you have an update for us.
I do. This is more of a question for the committee, and I might have to kind of go through the timeline of this entire event. I don't intend to go through the whole thing, but let's just say this has taken 7 years to choose a site, put up a data collection tower, collect data, and the final step would be to produce a feasibility report, which is the last piece of the total of an $85,000 grant, give or take. This would be 15 grand for that study. So this was renegotiated back in December. I don't know if you recall. There was some push and pull between, so let's say, Mass CEC, the company known as Sustainable Energy Developments, as well as the town. There's $15,000 worth of technical assistance listed on there that SED didn't agree with. They thought it was more. They had to scale it back. Anyways, they came up with a plan to give us a report within 3 months, and that was due in April. And none of that's been done. So where we stand now is, I finally had a chance to really get into this, and it's, even though I've been the energy manager now for 6 months, you don't find all the projects till you really dig into the history and the framework of them. So the whole purpose of exploring a wind turbine in the first place was to give the town an opportunity for energy reduction. And they found that the wind turbine could produce about 1.7 kilowatt hours annually, and that could take a chunk of about 33% of the town's energy costs in wind turbine. So over the course of 7 years, while we're collecting data, the national shift, or at least the Massachusetts shift, has shifted from wind to solar, and the town signed a net metering credit agreement for more than 33% of all their usage. So now that we have our solar agreement in place, it seems like producing the feasibility study for wind isn't sensible, considering we already have a solar agreement that's 20 to 30 years long. So what I've asked for, and it's really the committee's opinion really, is it worth having SED pursue this feasibility study rather than just give us the raw data, wherein if at any point in the future, 20, 30 years from now, we want to produce the raw data to someone who's looking to develop these things, and you can move on from there. This was a major project for the Energy Committee. It's probably one of the reasons this committee was established in the first place. So it's only important, or it's only right for me to bring it to the committee's attention to see where you're willing to go with this. I personally don't see the reason to pursue this final leg so long as we can get the raw data. But I also don't want to close it out if the tower's still standing. So what I've asked so far is for SED, who is now called SunCommon, changed names hence the delay, to examine removing that tower, providing us with all the raw data, and then from there decide if the committee decided on a recommendation if they want to pursue the feasibility report or just call it a day. So the overwhelming factor here being that we already have a solar agreement, and we're looking at all of our reductions over the course of the last 5 years with Green Communities grants. Our reductions been shrinking at an average of about 60,000 kilowatts over the last 5 years per year. So by the time we, right now we have about a surplus, or I'll call it a gap. We have about 5 million kilowatt hours of power. About 3.4 of them are done through the solar agreement. So any other off-takers don't want to exceed or get into the last 20%. So at most you want to dedicate 80% of your usage. So it leaves us with about 500,000 kilowatt hours that we can put into a solar agreement or a wind study or not. If this wind turbine is going to be 1.7, what's the point of it for us? So my opinion is to call it a day on this, assuming we get the tower down and we get all the raw data. But I wanted to put it out to the committee, considering, and Jack especially, you've been part of this almost since its inception, so just curious what you guys think about where it should go from here, and if you have any questions.
So that would be my two things, Jack, if you could think of any of the, because it predates me, I know Cheryl, it predates you, just more the genesis behind the thought on the wind turbine. And then obviously, what are are there any other consequences of us walking away from it? From a grant perspective, or I remember that was something we had talked about a little bit, thinking I felt like the sentiment for over a year now has been, we think this is a non-starter, but let's wrap it up, get the data, and move on. So, so Jack, if you want to share a little bit some of the historical, just you can think of, and then if Matt, if you have any observations on us just kind of cutting loose and walking away from it.
Sure. Yes. I mean, Jack, a big thing that jumps out to me, we got at least an analysis in 2015 that showed us how much usage the thing generates, what the payback would be to install it, what the lifetime savings would be. We got an actual report, we just didn't get the raw data of how to actually take the steps. And what you have to do, go through the state, what vendors are out there that even do this stuff. And I don't want to put SED or Suncommon or whoever they are, Suncommon now, through this if we're not going to pursue it. It just seems like a waste of both parties' time. But it's more important I ask the committee. So, I don't know how you felt about it. Seemed like it was Mr. Platukis' crusade at the time.
I mean, this is kind of, this is where we started, and I mean, when we started, I mean, you'd pick up the newspaper and every day, you could read stuff about wind turbines, and I mean, I still pick up the newspaper every day, but I haven't seen anything about wind turbines lately. I mean, things have, evolved in, I don't know, 9 years, 8 years, whatever, however long, I mean, it's been a long, long time.
One of the things I heard from Suncommon was, especially being how there's only 1 or 2 vendors in Massachusetts that would even consider doing this install today, because the incentives are now so heavily based on solar instead. So.
Yeah, I remember one of the last times the guy was, we don't deal with it anymore. We can, we can probably find just somebody that does.
That's the conversation I had too. Same idea. So, I mean, if that's the opinion of the group, and I'm sure anyone else would like to weigh in, the 2 big things I saw as items we have to accomplish first is get the tower down and get the raw data. I couldn't think of anything else since we have the actual study as produced from the data.
And I guess it goes back to, and I'm trying to recall, they had been paid to produce, and that would, I guess, is my other concern.
Right.
I remember that was the other piece. They had been paid to produce a study. And I know they had produced this, but I don't know if that was actually, and that, Matt, I'm sure you're much more ingrained in that piece. So just making sure that the town is not, did not pay for services that they didn't receive, and that from a grant or whatever type of contractual obligation, that we walk away, they walk away, and we all agree that that there's no future remediation for what might happen. Those would be my 2 concerns.
Those great concerns, and we briefly went over that, but we didn't get to it. I'm glad you brought it up now. The lifespan of the grant was a lot more. It was 85 grand total. This last piece of 15K hadn't been exchanged in any direction.
Okay.
So we're good there. And as far as Mass CEC and Suncommon are concerned, all of their financials are clear at this time also. So no one owes anyone any money unless we decide to pursue that last piece.
So I'd say our 4 major concerns, which I think we've spoken to, are just making sure payments made for services rendered, trues up, ability to walk away without any future remediation, removal of the tower, and then we get the actual, the data.
Right.
So ownership of the data. Should we at some point decide to pursue something?
Right. I should add, there was one other thing that came up before I got into this, was there was supposed to be an acoustic sound study
Yes.
at some point that was actually canceled. I don't know if it was by this committee, by the town or whatnot, but so there was another part of this that was actually canceled also. So this isn't the first thing we're looking to not do. This will be the 3rd. So there were 2. There was the acoustic sound study, and there was also going to be a balloon test, because at the time they didn't have drones that could fly around and take take a shadow study or not, so they're gonna use a balloon, but that was never done either. So the two parts there that also were not done and won't be part of their feasibility report.
So would this be something that you would anticipate us taking actually like a motion on recommending that we sunset the wind turbine project, or is it more informal? So what are your thoughts on, or, you know, to Jack and Cheryl, like, what are your thoughts on?
We can take a vote, we can.
Well, just, it, like, I think we've all been in agreement,
Right,
it's a
yeah.
non-starter, so.
How about, here's an idea, why don't we carry it to the next agenda just in anticipation to make sure we receive those other items? I have Suncoming, within the next 2 weeks, is gonna be soliciting people to take down the tower and have a follow-up call with him and Mass DEC the week after the 4th, and also to receive the raw data. So at least getting those two things, both parties confirmation that there's no outstanding payment. Keep it on the agenda until that information is verified, confirmed, and then at that time perhaps make a motion.
I think that's fair as well. I know there are certain residents in town that feel very strongly about this,
Mhm.
so that would be a great opportunity, since we don't have a strong population of residents here today, to give them an opportunity to come, and if there's anything additional they want to say before we, you know, make the formal motion. So I think that'll be great. We'll carry that over to the next one, and hopefully you'll at least have clarity on we feel comfortable with the payments being trued up. You feel okay that we can walk away and there's no future issues, but it's just the tower and the data piece that we'd like to have a better understanding of. Great. All right, more to come. Our next agenda item is the Community Initiative Program, Public Outreach. And I know I put this on because I was hoping Erica could be here. I know she had an opportunity to partner with Homeworks. As well, I've had Homeworks come out to my house as well. And it was a great experience, but Erica's away, so she can't speak to it. But Matt, do you have any updates in regards to just the overall public outreach program?
Just kind of a publicity pitch, I suppose. Say, I believe Homeworks will have a table set up at the Independence Day celebration. And if anyone who's been receiving the letters in the mail would like to meet with them in person, as opposed to making the phone call, they should be there at the Independence Day thing. Not sure where their tent would be yet, but or their table for that matter, but they will be there. That is the 29th. This week, I believe that begins, it's an all-day event, I believe. So I expect them to be there in the afternoon, evening especially. So if you need more information, you can call us at Town Hall.
And I haven't seen it, and if there has been one, I haven't had an opportunity to call in. Do we know where we're trending in regards to our numbers and?
Yes. I know we're trending in the right direction because we only got our reports up through April. And
Okay.
Homeworks just got on with us in April. Christina told me they did upwards of 80 audits in the month of May, but I haven't seen the May report yet from National Grid.
Okay.
So I'm expecting that to be looking pretty positive. And we do have that call scheduled for Wednesday with National Grid, and I've reached out to them to get that report in advance. So hopefully we get that tomorrow or before the call. I expect it to look a lot better than the last. But last April report, we were at 8% of the goal, but we started late. So
Did the 28th, so we should get a better idea. Great.
yes, we're at the rate where we need about 100 audits a month for the rest of the year.
And for those, as I had mentioned in previous meetings, I'd had them come out before, about 7 years ago, and they came out and they found some slight modifications to do, and even after the modifications they're going to do, minus the credits, I think it's gonna cost about $53, and they're shoring up all of the insulation in my basement. So, as we mentioned before, it's, you know, like I said, a plug for them. It's great for people to still have them come out and do the audit even if you've already done it. So there were some things they found, the technology has changed, and it was a great positive experience, and I recommend anyone in town to participate in it.
And the only time you're not eligible is if you just did it last year.
Correct.
Anytime before that, you're good.
What about rentals, when people are renting?
So you still can do it. So I own a rental property in Worcester, and Homeworks covers them, and they went out and they did the audit and they replaced some of the bulbs and some of the power stripping, and then they provided the report to me.
Okay.
So now I can decide what I want to do. So you can absolutely, if you rent, you can still have them come through and they can do some of the lighting, which will help with your energy bill, and then they'll produce a report for the landlord to say what
Okay.
they want. So.
All right, thanks.
Great, and our next item is staff updates. So we have 2 net meter agreement and the community grant.
Okay, so I just wanted to make an announcement about the net meter credit agreement, since we've been in it since December of 2015. I ran a ton of data to try to get us some numbers, and since the array went online in February of 2016, the town has produced an estimated savings of approximately $240,000, just in energy savings alone. I just wanted to kind of make that announcement here to the committee, just to show that not only have we been saving money, which is terrific, but we also have a means to track all of the savings on a month-to-month basis. And one of the things that really stood out to me was that the value of the credit at the time we took the agreement was about 21 cents, and it's dropped to approximately 16 cents. So despite losing, call it 25% of the value, the overall value, we still managed a lot of savings. Now, the projected savings at first were somewhere around 4 million over, 2 million over, no, 4 million over 20 years. And that's an average, I think it's like 200 grand a year or something like that. Now, we're not exactly there because of that market rate drop. And also the array was offline for 3 weeks in April. So there were some discrepancies that we noticed that caused that number to fall a little bit. But if the market recovers and trends back in the right direction, it seems like we have the right facilities to be able to produce savings that they've anticipated. It's good to see that by the numbers. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we can track it now. Ultimately, I can break it out a little further just for the sake of it. But throughout fiscal year 17, the school's savings is about 76,000. The town's is 33, and the sewer department's about 19. It's a total in fiscal year 17 of about 130,000.
I think at the end of the day, too, savings is savings, so.
Yes. Absolutely.
All right, the next staff update, the Green Community Grant. I know we had a lot of items in the hopper last month, I believe.
Yes,
We
so,
were waiting to hear what was going to be funded, right?
yes, and we now know what will be funded. The announcement came on Thursday. We received $213,804 in grant funding. This will be for an LED lighting project at the high school. It's the second of 2 LED lighting projects. This has been in the high school. Throughout the hallways, there are a bunch of, say, small circular, like recessed cans, and none of those were changed in the first LED project. The gym lights were done and a handful of others, but there's 200 and something of those little cans in there that'll be replaced as part of the LED project. There's also what's called a retro commissioning study being done at the high school that will examine any other, call it, weak points of heating and ventilation systems that could be addressed in future grant rounds. The Bryn Mawr Elementary School received monies for steam trap replacement. I believe Joe Fahey, our maintenance guy, could describe that in better detail than I. But it's a project he's been trying to get for some time now, and it's long overdue over there. And the final one is a building automation system and CO2 controls on the rooftop units at the library. Out of the 213,000, that was approximately 70,000. The building automation system for the heat is like what we have at Town Hall, where it's all controlled under a software program. The thermostats are all tied in under a monitoring software that is
Great.
far easier to control than going over to all of them and changing them and trying to regulate the room manually.
I remember
So-
Eric speaking to, there was going to be some type of study of all the municipal buildings at some point to see what the opportunity was
Mhm.
for those automation systems. Is
Mhm.
this what, like a one-off, or was that back to?
Their audit was done in 2015,
Okay,
so that was identified as part of that audit.
that's one of
for
the
library.
opportunities, so,
Yep.
great.
And Guardian Energy Solutions, when they go around, we schedule this every year for more grant opportunities. They did a full audit for this application, and the ones that we chose were these four. We also chose one that wasn't awarded, but the ones that we chose had the shortest payback period. So some of the ones that they gave us included air conditioning at the library. They have wall units, but the payback period was 107 years. It's just not something you can apply for. So we had to be selective. We chose what we thought were great projects. We got 4 of the 5. It's the most funding we've received through Green Community so far by
That's great.
about $30,000. So we're really excited about it. Hopefully the one project that was left off will have, call it a grandfathering right for next year. We'll see it on there twice and be inclined to provide it. But there's always another opportunity for other energy efficient measures at any of these buildings, especially our high users. I think the high school tends to get its preference because it's our largest user.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 5 million kilowatt hours, the high school uses 1.2 by itself.
For everything, yeah. Great.
So it's very good news.
Yeah.
And our next step is to meet with Department of Energy Resources, National Grid, and discuss the incentives and finalize those, and then set up a construction schedule with Guardian Energy. Last year, we started sometime around late July. Maybe we get started a little sooner now that we got the contract signed already and sent off to them. So
Because if I recall, we were a little behind the gun, because they have to be completed in a certain period of time too, right?
yes, so that's one of the things I'm not sure about at this point in the game. We were given a deadline of May 31st, 2018, to complete these projects, and the retro commissioning project alone has a time span of 9 to 12 months. It's monitoring use over time. Now that would carry past the deadline to apply for green communities in 2018. So once we get closer to that, I'm going to know if we can even apply for grants next year, or if we have to wait a year.
Okay.
We've had to wait a year in the past. When we first got the designation, we had to wait 3 years to get the gas line tied into Central Street up to Town Hall to get those projects done. So some of them can take longer. I hope it doesn't. But that's the one thing I don't have an answer on yet. Hopefully that study gets done faster.
Okay. Excellent. All right, public comment or informal discussion? Looks like there's no public comment. Correspondence? I didn't receive anything. Matt, did you have anything?
I do not.
So for minutes, and you keep me honest on this, so we have minutes from March 27th and April 24th.
Yes.
Can we,
We cannot vote on the 27th, as Mr. Barkus was not present for that. And the 24th, I did not print,
I did
unfortunately.
not print either. So
I'm not sure I
we
had
will
them.
have to,
I was looking through all my attachments and I couldn't find it. And we did not meet in May.
correct. So we will carry both of those over to the next meeting. So our next regular meeting will be held on Monday, July 24th at 5:30 PM here at the Auburn School Department on 5 West Street. And there being no other agenda items, would anybody like to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting?
You will.
Would anyone like to second? All right, all in favor, say aye. All right, by unanimous vote, we will adjourn the meeting at 5:56 PM.